make sure I'm in the middle.
Life's ticking over nicely. How about you?
Yeah, it's endless at the moment.
Okay, what's going on?
I've got so many projects that I've basically been recording over the last couple of years. I guess I was fairly lucky over the. I guess we're already getting into it. I've been fairly lucky over the kind of COVID period that I ended up just getting a massive.
I thought I was doing a test.
Oh, that's fine. We can do that then. This is just a test.
Oh, I've had these headphones for about 15 years, and I'm only getting one side.
Oh shit! No, I don't think that's going to be. It is quite possible that that's because I'm going through the desk, and for some reason the software is classing that as. How about that? Is that better?
Say something? No,
is
it's
this
the same. I'm sure
it's the same. I don't know.
I'm sure
It's possible it's at my end because it's my desk has left and right in.
Yeah.
But I've got it in stereo mode now, so you should just be hearing it in.
It's probably. I'm sure it's my headphones. They've been playing up for a long time.
Well, either I'm coming through on both speakers or just one for the people listening. So yeah.
All right, I'm sure it'll fix itself. I'm a firm believer in shit just fixing itself.
It's true. Yeah.
Sorry, I've had a horrible fucking cold for the last week. Anyway,
Yeah,
so
I
cool,
think
Aaron.
I
Thank you.
Starting to get one.
Yeah, I know. So, Aaron, thank you for doing this, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you for taking the time out of
nice
your
to
day.
see you.
How's it been? I was thinking about this. Has probably been 10 years since.
It's probably about
since
that.
I last saw you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It was the horrendous One Step Behind gig.
Yeah.
That was my last venture with those guys.
Special moment. Decided to drive home and get home at 5 a.m.
It was awful, man. It was just awful. But yeah. So that was 2013.
Was it? Wow.
A week or 2 weeks before my wedding, and that was and I got married in 2013.
Wow.
So yeah, 10 years, man. What have you been up to in 10 years?
Jeez, a lot of things. So the main one is just kind of staying on it with music, really. Trying to do. Mostly, I've been kind of teaching, and then on the side, I guess I've been doing all my bands because I don't play music that's particularly popular.
Yeah, man. Let's go down that road. So I know you've done so many different kind of death metal, black metal.
Yeah. So there's
I never know how to categorize.
There's an easy way to categorize
heavy
it.
metal.
So the way to think about it is black metal is if everyone's a lot of the time it's normally kind of you got all the face paint and the vocals are a little bit higher. It's more like kind of sound. Right. And a lot of the time it's all kind of that one. They're more singing about, your Satans and your this kind of stuff.
Okay.
But ironically, if you go and tour with those guys and hang out with them, they're the nicest guys ever. Because it's just like it's. I mean, some of them like really believe it. But if you actually go and tour with the actual Norwegian guys that are really into that, it's their it's like a little persona that they suddenly live in a horror movie for a while, basically. Put fake blood on and hey, I'm in a horror movie for an hour, and then they come off stage and then they listen to Queen on the bus and it's so that's the black metal thing. So that's all. That's the actual scary guys with all the spikes and face makeup and this kind of thing. And then the death metal is more from America. So your black metal's more kind of Scandinavia. Death metal's more from America, and that one instead of the vocal being is more of a whoa.
So we're
talking
lower
vocal.
Cannibal Corpse.
Yes, that would be more death metal than black metal.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. There you go.
One of the
already.
Now I know.
That's it. Exactly.
There you go.
That's it. Exactly.
Okay, job done. All right, thanks for doing this. We'll catch up later.
Yes, that's it. But that's more about maybe silly things like zombies and not necessarily zombies, but it's the same kind of concept, death and destruction and horrible things, but less of the satanic thing.
Right. Okay.
essentially.
And now I know.
But,
Now I know. And so, what you've got lots of just has everything just turned up on your door at the same time?
yeah, so for 10 years, well, since I last saw you, I've basically had two main bands, which was a band called Deprofundis, which are from UK, and then a band called Virvum from Switzerland, who I basically recorded their album in 2016, and then they basically tried to tour the album, couldn't find anyone who could actually play my bass parts in Switzerland, so then asked me, do you want to come and do the tour with us? So I kind of got halfway through the tour, and then they said, hey, do you want to actually just join the band? So I kind of ended up joining the band. So they're in Switzerland. I'm here.
Okay.
I think we've had 2 rehearsals ever. Once was like the day before we did the first tour, and then the second one was the day we introduced in-ears.
Okay.
Get used to that. And that was like the only 2 rehearsals I've ever had. So normally if they've got some shows or a gig, like the year before COVID, 2019, we had... some gigs in America, our whole tour in America for a month. Yeah. And basically I just flew out there, played show 1, and that was the first time I played with them in about a year. It's just like, not even a sound check.
It just sounds like a gig.
That's it. You just turn up, and if you know the songs, you play. It's a tricky one. With Deprofundis, I used to rehearse every week, but that's because it wasn't really a rehearsal. It was a writing session.
Yeah.
Because we'd all write the songs as a group. So we'd meet up every Saturday or whatever, or every couple of weeks. And then we'd throw ideas together until we had an album. And then we'd record the album, and then we'd tour it. But with Virvum, most of the stuff's kind of written in Switzerland. They send me the parts. I write it out, work out my own bits, and then I record it here remotely. So that's my 2 main bands I had. Just before COVID, I left Deprofundis. But then... pretty much at exactly the same time, almost the same week, I got a call from another band asking if I could kind of play on their album, and now I've joined them instead. So I've kind of just jumped from one band to another one. And that band's called Utopia. And that's really crazy stuff. And that is the hardest stuff I've ever had to play. Partly because it's the memory, remembering how the song goes, because it's like a stream of consciousness for 3 minutes with no repeats. And it's crazy, and almost every bar is a different odd time signature, and it's just and like 250 BPM, really hard. So when I recorded it, I was just like, "Oh, this is great! I've just recorded this. This is crazy." And now they want to tour it. I'm like, "Oh no,
man!"
But yeah, during COVID, that was my first album that came along, and then I had an American band actually then kind of contacted me and said, "Hey, can you record our album?" And that's a band called Tomarum. So I recorded that, and that came out last year. And then I recorded Vipassi, which is this Australian band. The first single of the new album came out 2 weeks ago. And that one, I'm really excited about that band, actually. That's probably the thing I'm most happiest that I've recorded so far. It's just the music itself. It's just beautiful music. But again, it's still like black death metal, but it's all instrumental. So it's all the hard, heavy stuff, but without the shouting. But that one's really cool. It's really atmospheric. So I recommend people go and check that out. That's super cool. And then straight after that, I then recorded a band for a guy in Germany called Tom Geldschlager. And he was the guitarist for... he's done so many things basically, but it's him. He did one of the Obscura albums, and we've got the drummer from Fear Factory on drums for it as well. So, and I think he's got about 50 other instruments on the album or more. And that's still being mixed because I recorded it about a year and a half ago now, and it's still being mixed because it's just got that many tracks, and it's just a monster project. So that was the 4th album I recorded, and then I recorded an album with a band called Cosmotorium last November, December, and that album came out about a month ago. So that's out now. That's another American band. And then about 5 months ago, I finished recording the second Utopia album. So that was my kind of 6 albums that I recorded in the space of basically 2 years. And then, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it also is a lot because I'm just recording myself here. So I'm having to do it kind of in my spare time. So it's not like in the old days where you can just go to a studio for a week and then I just get all my stuff done in a week. I'm kind of maybe teaching all day, and then because I teach in a music college, and then I'll get home. Sometimes I finish quite late. I get home maybe at 8 o'clock, have some dinner, and then maybe I've got 2 hours to do something at the end of the day. And maybe I feel like it, maybe I don't feel like it, because maybe I'm knackered. I'll do it tomorrow. So some things take months for me to get through. Some things I manage to get through like in a month. But it can take a while, especially because the stuff I'm playing is not easy. So sometimes it takes me like 3 or 4 days just to get a riff under my fingers to the right tempo. And then I'll record that riff, and then I'll work out the next riff. So it's not like I'm recording the whole song in one take, because the stuff I'm playing is just too hard for me to just memorize the whole track and play it perfectly in the time I've got available, basically, because I'm not rehearsing it. I'm just recording it myself. So most of my stuff I'm recording kind of riff by riff. I'd like to do it all in one take.
You got to do it in one take when you're gigging it.
I've got to do it in one take. And that's kind of my point, really, with it, is that I don't really mind as long as the recorded product sounds good and sounds like I did it in one take. And then everyone's like, oh, you didn't do it in one take. And I'll just go, yeah, but it's fine. But just come and see me live, and then you can come and see me where I've actually spent all my hours just practicing just those songs to go and play it live. I did the same actually in August. I flew to Australia actually for this Australian band. And we recorded a music video, which is the one that came out 2 weeks ago. And we also recorded a couple of, three, no one knows this yet, exclusive content, three full playthrough videos of the band playing 3 songs. And we recorded the audio live as well. And 3 bass playthroughs, which will be out at some point as well, the same 3 songs. But I recorded all the audio live for that as well. So it's... So I did spend the time to actually record the whole thing and play it through as a playthrough. So I think we're exclusively, you'll find out, depends on when this comes out. One of those playthrough videos is going to be the next single release. So that's going to come out in the middle of December. But we are going to have to put the album audio over that. And this is where it kind of gets complicated with record labels, because the record label needs us to have the album audio on it, because they own the master of the album audio, whereas if we just play the song itself, they wouldn't own the master to that, because that wouldn't be the album audio, which is what they own. They don't own the song, they own just the actual physical audio from the CD or the record, whatever. So they need that audio over the video. So we might then re-release that video again in 6 months' time, but with the audio we actually recorded it. So you can say, here's what we actually recorded on the day, but the other one's the official music video kind of thing. And then I did loads of little mini singles and things in between. There was a nice little project that I did that was just one track that I did with, I think it was three of us bass players on it, which is a bit silly, and a sax player. And then there was loads of other singles. But then there's actually one thing that I haven't mentioned that's coming out soon that is not in metal in any way, shape or form. And that is actually an acoustic duo project with a guy I work with at music college called Matt Appleby. And he plays mostly acoustic guitar. He's one of the other lecturers there. And I've always loved the sound of acoustic guitar and fretless bass, because I'm a big Michael Manring fan who used to do that in the 80s and 90s. And so I've been kind of harassing him slightly. So it's like, if you record anything that might sound nice with some fretless bass on it, let me know. And a few months ago, he basically sent me 3 tracks. It's going to be a 5-track EP. He sent me 3 tracks and said, hey, what do you think about playing bass on these tracks? So I recorded that, and I'm super happy with that. That's all mixed now, and we're going to go into the studio in a couple of weeks to record a couple of videos for those. So that'll be out at some point, and that'll be completely different to what I'm normally recording. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing. So I apologise. That's just like
that's okay. Because I was just about to ask. I was just going to ask. Do you ever feel like you get not tarnished is the wrong word, but you only get metal gigs? You only get the phone call for a metal gig.
Yeah. So that's a really interesting question, because for me, I'm so interested in so much music. That it means that I'd be happy to play anything. Like at music college, I have to teach reggae one day, and then I'm teaching slap bass yesterday, and then I've got to teach playing with a pick, and then I'm doing a performance for a rock thing, and then I've got to play a pop thing, and so I'm teaching everything. I do play like work with One Step Behind or whatever. I've played kind of Madness tribute band stuff. I've got just a function band just for fun, to be honest, because I think I just enjoy playing. I don't care what genre it is. So I can have a function band and I'll go out and I'll just play Disco Inferno and whatever, because it's fun and I enjoy it, and I just like making people happy. That's like really my reason for living, is just trying to make people happy. So I don't care what music I'm playing as long as I'm playing music. So I've got the function band. I sometimes do covers gigs and things, but those are on word of mouth, both of those. So that's kind of on personal recommendation. So the One Step gig was because I went to music college originally with one of the original guitar players, and he asked if I could join because he knew I could play stuff, because he'd seen me play stuff at music college. He knew I was varied. I could do lots of things. And then this function band was it was the One Step bass player. As I kind of ended up we ended up swapping gigs basically. So I was the main dep for One Step, and then he had this function band, and now he's become the main dep for One Step because I couldn't do it for a few years. And now I've kind of got his function band. So
all right,
we kind of swapped. But those are all on personal recommendation. Whereas if anyone goes online and sees, like if someone says, hey, check out this bass player, they type it into the internet, they're going to come up with a very kind of specific thing that I do, which just happens to be most of the gigs I'm getting is in that genre. But actually I'd play loads of stuff, but and this is kind of, I think, been the good thing and the bad thing about, I think, being a specialist, which is really kind of what I am, because I play the 6-string fretless. So I'm a specialist in that. So that's kind of what I'm selling myself as. So most of my videos are me playing that. I've got 4 strings,
normal bass that normal people
normal
play.
bass. Yeah, that's it. I had this made to be just like a normal bass. It's still custom, but so I kind of, you get good things and bad things from being a specialist in that way, because you're a specialist, so you get, I suppose, attention for doing that thing, and you get known for doing that thing. But then people think you can't do anything else. I think. So that's what I'm quite looking forward to, having this acoustic thing, because that's going to make people go, oh, hang on a minute. That's not what I'm used to him doing.
Cool. That's cool. Yeah, because I've always known you as a non-metal bass player, and I think we did a function gig post.
Yeah, we did.
One Step. Yeah, so that it wasn't 10 years. So yeah, I always wondered, whenever I see you post stuff, it's always death metal, black metal. It's always this metal band. It's like he seems to be like cornering the market in death metal bass, but that's just, it's weird because that's not how I know you.
It's a funny one, because that's really nice of you to say that, actually. But yeah, it's I kind of found out in COVID that I kind of became, temporarily at least, a session death metal bass player, really. Recording sessions for albums. People were paying me, so that was fine. But I didn't even know it was like a market that kind of existed, really. But of those 6 albums, 7 projects, or whatever, 8, 9 things I recorded on, 2 of them are my bands, and the rest of it was people contacting me to say, can you play this style of thing? But at the same time, that has given me advantages, because it's meant that I have got a recognizable sound, people have said, on record. Like someone sent me a message the other day and said, oh, that really sounds like you. And I'm not really necessarily aiming for that. But it's nice that people are actually saying that sounds like you, doing the fretless thing. But like you said, you don't know me for that, because I do other stuff as well. But I do have that very niche thing, which is still probably most of my gigs, but it's not all of my gigs. But ideally, I just want to get like the Kylie Minogue gig.
Don't we all?
I know. Play to 100,000 people every night, and that's. So So, Kylie, if you're watching, I've got.
If you are watching, he is available.
Yes. But so I'm quite happy to just play anything. But the thing that kind of gets that people are calling me up for is this specialist thing.
Yeah.
But then that does mean that sometimes people have struggles to play my stuff as well. So if someone does want to play in a band and play my material, I have written it very specifically for the way I play, which is a very specific way. And it's not standard technique, and it is not easy for other people to learn the stuff. But I want people to learn the stuff, and it's obviously a great challenge. And that's the thing I have put on my website. Actually, is what I've done is I've started doing. I'll push my website.
Go on.
I've started doing tab books. So that's not on my website, this one, but the same kind of thing. So it's a full kind of bass transcription of all of my. That wasn't just there for this.
Yeah. And this is my...
yeah, that's it. But it's what I prepared earlier.
Yeah.
So I've got on my website, I've got kind of full transcriptions of different albums. But what I have started doing for the last few ones that I've put up there is actually because I teach in a music school. So many, and this actually might get to a bit of guitar based stuff now. Actually, is so many people the way they learn the instrument is. At least I did as well, probably you as well. I went on the internet, I found some tabs, and then I tried to learn the songs from some tabs, and then just read tab, and that's it. And then the kind of music thing, the actual reading the dots, is this kind of higher life form that you don't understand, but I can read the tabs, so that's fine. So I know that that's how a lot of people play bass and a lot of people play guitar is by reading the tab. So what I've done is, for anyone who is curious, because I know that this doesn't exist in death metal or any of like super hard stuff, is for the last few ones of these I've done, I've written the whole thing out again, only in standard notation.
Okay.
So it's only the dots.
So not only is it incredibly impossible bass, you're going to have to sight read it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
What, just for another challenge?
Well, I figured that it's not been done. I've never seen someone actually do that, but I figured that anyone that actually really wants to learn how to read, they might find that helpful, because they'll know how to play it if they've already played it from the tab.
Yeah.
And then they can cross-reference it to the standard notation. And then they can try and work out, so that's the E I'm playing. And then they might be able to recognize the rhythms from that. Or if someone just wants really hard bass reading material, then it's there. So that's what I've done recently. Again, it was just something that kind of off the top of my head, I thought, you know what, I would like it written in standard notation.
So I'm going to write it.
I'm going to write it in standard notation. So at least it's there for me. So the book's kind of twice as big as it would be. Again, I'm not actually pressing them like this one. They're just PDF files. But the one I uploaded a couple of days ago is for this Cosmotorium album. I haven't actually plugged that yet, but it's on my website already. But that's 97 pages long. About 70 pages of that is probably the tab version. And then the last kind of 40 pages is the standard notation versions of it. But I'm quite happy with it. It looks nice. And then it means I kind of tick the boxes of, because I listen to lots of classical music as well. And actually a lot of my practice, if we get into that, is lots of classical stuff. Classical exercises. So it kind of ticks my box of me opening a piece of Chopin music and then seeing the dots there, and I open it up and it's what I wrote.
Nice.
And it's all the dots. So I'm like, oh look, I feel like a composer now.
Yeah.
So I feel like I can take myself seriously.
So let's do that. That seems like a nice segue into practicing. So like the whole point of this podcast was I wanted to delve into how primarily professional musicians, but it could easily scope out to other professions. How do professional musicians keep themselves sharp for gigs, and how do you improve? And also, as a kind of a third question, do you feel the need to improve, or are you just quite happy sort of maintaining a level that you're at the moment?
Mate, these are great questions.
Let's start with practice. Do you practice?
Yeah, let's do that, because I've got so many. Like, my thought just went everywhere with every single one of those. So what was the first point?
Do you practice? How do you find time to practice, and how do you do it? How do you scope out or sculpt a practice session, or do you just pick up as and when you've got a free 10 minutes and go, do you know what, I'm going to cram some technique in it, or I'm going to cram some improv or some sight reading?
That depends. So for me, it depends entirely on just because at this point in my life, I'm like so busy with so many things at the same time. So, but it varies depending on whether I'm busy or not. So, at this moment, I'm not doing a lot of what I would class as practice. So there's different people have different concepts of what practice is. So for me, I'm not doing a lot of practice. But what I am doing is I'm learning a lot of repertoire.
Yeah.
And for me, that's not practicing.
Okay.
Which some people might find confusing. So I don't see learning repertoire as practicing. That is learning repertoire. Mm-hmm. And that depends entirely on what I have coming up. So this Saturday, I have a rehearsal with another project. But that one is really hard stuff. And I've discovered in my brain that I have a very good short-term memory, but not a very good long-term memory. So I will learn these songs for Saturday, and then I will have forgotten them by Sunday.
Right.
So
okay.
I'll still not exactly forgotten, but I won't be able to play them again a week later, because I'll have had to use that space for the thing I have coming up the following weekend, which is me recording these acoustic songs. So I'm gonna kick these songs out of my head, and then I'm going to learn these acoustic songs for Saturday when I have to record the video for that. And then the following week, I've got a rehearsal with my band Utopia. So I'm going to kick all those songs out of my head, and then I'm only going to cram those songs into my head. So I've got a limited amount of space in my head, I think, for songs. So I'd love to be able to just remember things, and then it just stays in my head forever. But I have a limited space. So that's all the practicing I'm going to be doing for the next week, is cramming what I need to do for the weekend into my head, and then forgetting it, and then cramming the next thing into my head.
Do you know,
I won't have a lot of time for what I class as practice.
Yeah. I read a really good book. I can't remember the name of the book now. We're moving house, so I've packed all my books and stuff away. But it was a book on practicing, and it was called something like The Art of Practicing or whatever. And
I've seen that, but I haven't read it. But
how you shift whatever you've learned into your short-term memory, into your long-term memory, the best way to do it is to take a nap.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So, like, if you're cramming something that you need to, cram it for an hour and a half, take a 20-minute nap, and it literally it downloads it into your long-term memory.
Oh, that is interesting.
So, yeah, I thought I haven't. Yeah, I don't know. I can't speak exactly to its efficacy, but I don't get time to take a nap.
Yeah. I'd love to do that.
I love what you said about learning repertoire is not practice. Like I think my controversial take on learning music is to stop learning songs. Like, if you want to really improve, stop learning songs. Start working on the shit that you're weak at.
So that's practice to me.
Yeah. Like,
I completely agree 100%. So learning songs that is repertoire. I'm learning repertoire for a purpose. But now the thing that's controversial,
but you can also learn a song that has a specific technique in it that you're weak at.
Yes, exactly.
So you're kind of combining the two things.
Exactly. So I guess it depends on what level you're at.
Yeah.
So at my level, and this is going to sound really dumb, I'm not learning songs to get better.
Yeah.
Because it's going to sound so pretentious. There's not a lot of songs that are going to make me play better on bass. And that's going to be the weird thing. And this is where it crosses over into practice. So the stuff I learn is stuff that's not played on bass because and this is going to sound so pretentious, because it's not been done before. Yeah. So I don't know if it can be done. So I will try to do it.
Fine.
That's the way I approach it. So on YouTube and things, you'll see transcriptions where I've done Alan holds with guitar solos and saxophone solos and trumpet solos. And when I started that, I didn't know whether I'd be able to do it. But by the end of it, I knew that my technique was at this new place that not necessarily no one would be able to do, but I just know one that had really ever tried to do it before. Yeah. So then I was doing something new, and to me, that was the practice. So that wasn't learning repertoire.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't learning a song. Now, when I started playing, yes, of course, I'm learning For Whom the Bell Tolls or whatever.
Yeah.
all the first Metallica albums. That was basically my way of learning at the very beginning, was just trying to play the tabs of the first few Metallica albums.
Yeah.
And then from that,
think beginners, you just learn a bunch of songs.
Learn songs. Yeah.
But transitioning, I think, from that beginner to intermediate, or even intermediate to advanced, I think, learning repertoire is just a bit of a waste of time. But,
So my bookcase, I haven't got a single bass book on that bookcase.
Okay.
I've got 3 shelves. Shelves are massive. I've got 100, 200 books on that. And not a single one is a bass one. There's a couple of double bass books, because I've got an electric double bass. But I've got, I can see from here, a trombone book. It's got just basically so many books on jazz.
Yeah.
And that's something we can talk about. I've got so many classical books there, real book, which I know you look at. So for me, what I class as practice, and I guess that'll be the little step into that bit. So what do I class as practice that's not learning songs? What I class as practice is if I'm reading some dots, I'm practicing, basically. And if it's from a book that actually has specific exercises in it, and those exercises can either be classical or jazz exercises. Yeah. So say I've got a chord progression, say I've got the real book, open up the real book, take a chord progression, and then try and see, can I just play arpeggios on each of those chords? Can I arpeggiate each of those chords? And I try and do it from one end of the neck to the other as well, and different exercises like this. So I won't just, I might just stay in one position. That's one exercise I've done a lot, just stay in one position. And I try it in each position. Yeah. Or maybe I'll get some reading material that's actually written to be read. So that would be kind of, I guess you class it as a classical etude, essentially. So I'm just kind of reading a piece of music. It might be in bass clef. There's a great reading thing out by Jeff Berlin, who's a really good fusion bass player. But he started playing classical violin. So he was kind of a classical violin prodigy. And then he kind of picked up bass in his
spare time
as a teenager, and then got into fusion stuff, and then basically become one of the best bass players that ever lived. But he's got a few reading packages on his website, and I would recommend that massively. In fact, for guitar as well, but for bass. But it starts off just in C major, but it's C major, and you have to read all over the neck. Right. And then it goes through all 15 keys.
15?
As well. 15, yeah.
Thought it was 12. Go on. What are the others? What am I missing?
So you've got C major. Yeah. No sharps and flats. Yeah. You've got key signatures up to 7 sharps and flats. Yeah. And then you've got key signatures up to 7 sharps, and you've got key signatures up to 7 flats. 1 sharp, 2 sharps, 3 sharps, 4 sharps, 5 sharps, 6 sharps, 7 sharps, which is the key of C sharp major or A sharp minor. Yeah. And then you've got 1 flat, 2 flat, 3 flat, 4 flat, 5 flat, 6 flat, 7 flats, which is the key of C flat major or A flat minor. All right. And C major as well. So 15 keys is what you're reading in. But you never know, because sometimes that E sharp might crop up on the gig, or you might get that B flat. And if you've practiced it, your brain doesn't go, ooh. Yeah. When you see it, it's like C flat. Oh, shit. Yeah. But if you've practiced playing C flats, it's not the end of the world. But practicing this, and this is what I mean, there's 15 keys there. Practicing that means now I'm not intimidated if I see a 7 flats on a key signature and I have to try and play it. But it's also that reading material, specifically that actually, because it was written for bass, but essentially it was the thing I wanted from the day I started, and it never existed. Right. Because when I started playing bass, I was 15, and I was going into school, and I go into the music department, but I was too old to do GCSEs because we choose that at 14, and I was 15 and a half, so I was only 6 months before A-level started, so I couldn't study A-level music either. So I never studied music properly at school. I kind of stopped music at 14. But I'd go into the music department because I wanted to practice and jam with my little band that I had there. Yeah. And I'd see all the classical musicians sitting there with their sheet music out, reading the stuff, reading, and I was so jealous because I didn't have that. I had my Metallica tabs.
Yeah.
And I wanted a sheet music because I basically, and this is again going to sound pretentious, I think this is an underloved instrument and underappreciated because there's not enough repertoire for it. Essentially, it doesn't have 300-400 years of history. It's not like a piano thing with you know, you got your Chopin. That's been your classic piano thing to practice for hundreds of years. But there isn't something like that for bass. And
so you're at the forefront, like the cutting edge of bass learning material.
I just like the idea of having the dots there. And we can get into that in detail at some point if you want to. But what I like with all of my practice is practice for me is if my brain hurts at the end of it, I've practiced.
Yeah, man.
That's my way of thinking about it. If my fingers hurt, that's not necessarily practice. It's that would be more like playing stamina, I guess, physical stamina. But for me, practice, at least at this point in my life, practice for me is if my brain's hurting, it means I've learned something new. I've made some new neurons.
Some new connections.
That's it. So it's either going to be from, well, mostly it's going to be the kind of jazz practice or essentially taking a classical exercise. And this is the thing I like to do. So I've got loads of piano books there. There's one book in particular I quite like that's a piano book called Hannon, or is it Hannon? Virtuoso, or is it the Virtuoso Pianist? That's what it's called. Okay. Virtuoso Pianist. I'll phrase that better.
Yeah.
Virtuoso Pianist and or pianist, I don't know. But that book, essentially, you're going from one end of the piano to the other with an exercise.
Yeah.
So I just apply that to the bass, and I just try and play the exercise from one end of the instrument to the other. And if I do get 5 minutes to practice something, I'll tell you what I practice. I'll do it for you.
Okay,
I'll try and do it just vertical here. So what I do practice is at this point in time is right, C major, E F G A B C D E F G A B C D E F G A B C D E F G, and then back down, and then I think right, E major, E, and now for me, E major has an E, A, and a B in it, and everything else is sharp. Yeah. So I'm now going to get E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, all the way up the neck, all the way back down again. And then I'll try and do that in little exercises. I might do it in groups of 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or whatever. So, and I'm not plugged in, you can't hear it. But the idea is that I'm trying to apply things. I'm trying to look at the bass like a pianist would look at a piano.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to see it as, I don't see positions anymore.
Right.
And I'm trying to get out of the shapes thing because I did that for years. And there's no way I would have been able to just play what I just played if I was thinking all the individual shapes and positions. Because I'd be thinking at that, okay, and now I'm doing the Dorian shape, and now I'm in the Phrygian shape, and now I'm in the Lydian shape, and now I'm in the mixed Lydian shape. I wouldn't know what notes I was playing.
Yeah.
I'd just be trying to rely on my hands and hoping that my hands are doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, I look down and I can see all the note names in my head, and I just play the right notes because they're just there.
It seems it's like a longer way of doing it, but at the end of the day, it's just so much more beneficial.
So when I realised this, right, basically, since I first saw the Alan Holdsworth instructional video, like 15 years ago or whatever, maybe even 20 years ago, when I first saw that instructional video, he said he sees the neck as just all the notes he wants to see just light up on the neck.
Right.
And I've wanted to see the neck that way since then, basically, rather than seeing it as little individual shapes. Because playing shapes was fine, but then every time I shifted position, I'd be, oh no, which shape is it now?
Oh yeah.
So I've always wanted to just see it all as one great big thing. And then a few years ago, it suddenly clicked to me because I do lots of things where I just draw out random music theory ideas. And at one point, I was just making fretboard neck diagrams, and I started looking at like key signatures. And this is something I'd always kind of neglected. I I knew the circle of fifths, but I wasn't really that. I couldn't work out how to apply it. And then at some point it clicked, and then my brain was just like, oh, right, that thing that I was kind of ignoring, that is the foundation of everything. That is everything. So that now the circle of fifths has just become my religion of everything. So and that's what I was just saying there, but I'm just playing the fretboard. So if I'm playing C major, as long as I know where all the white keys are on a piano, as long as I know where all of those are on there, and I know what note it is that I'm hitting at any one time, and that's where reading music comes in handy, because that helps you to really learn and look down and see the 10th fret of the G string as an F and not as the 10. Yeah. So you see an F when you look at it. That then means if I'm playing in the key of G major, there's one sharp, and every time that means that I look down, and everywhere there's an F, there's only 8 of them, that now becomes an F sharp. On a bass, there's only 8. Four-string bass, there's 8. That F becomes F sharp, and that's it. And all the other notes are just the white notes you played a second ago. And it makes your life so much easier. So all I'm doing, if I'm playing in G major, is I'm just looking down like a piano player would, and I'm just seeing that F sharp key in each octave. Yeah. And the rest of the time, the other 6 notes are just the notes I was playing in C major. And then I can just play anything anywhere, and I can jump anywhere as well. It's kind of, you can do silly things like if I want to play C major scale, I can play C and then open D, because I know that's the next one, and then E is maybe the 12th fret harmonic of the E, and then F is actually, that's the next F, and then open G, and then an A, maybe that 12th fret harmonic here, and then a B could be here, and then C could actually be all the way here. And I'm playing a C major scale. But because I know where all the pitches are, I'm aiming for the pitches. But that's an extreme example. But it does mean that you can get a bit silly with things. And I do that quite a lot when I'm composing bass lines that jump around the neck a lot. If there's an open string available, I might use that open string in the line to then carry on my line somewhere else. Sure. To make it sound seamless when I jump. But actually, because I've got the scale here, I play an open string and then I jump up here. It kind of bridges the gap rather than it sound and then and then a big jump. I can kind of
like country guitar playing, using a lot of open strings to shift positions.
That's it, exactly.
So let's chat about teaching, because I know you teach at the ACM.
Yes,
And you studied at the ACM.
Yes, yeah.
When did you study? What years were you there?
I finished in 2007.
Okay, all right, so you were well after me. So when you were there, was it? I don't know if
Guildford.
Yeah, I was at Guildford, yeah. Was it set up so like Monday you would do one lesson of, I don't know, you'd learn a song on Monday, have to perform it on Friday?
Yes.
Tuesday you'd do sight reading, Wednesday you do technical development, Thursday some theory. And
business or theory. Or
yeah. Is it still set up that way now?
So it depends, because there's different levels. So I actually only did the diploma and higher diploma at ACM. So I didn't do the degree course, and actually at the moment I'm actually just teaching the degree course. Okay. But I think, as far as I'm aware, the higher diploma still works that way. Okay. The degree is a little bit different because it depends on the timetabling. Right. Ideally, it would be, yes, you learn a song on Monday and you play it on Friday, but sometimes, for whatever reason, the timetabling gets a bit weird, and sometimes you learn it on Monday and you play it on Tuesday. Handy. Or even extremes, which I think's been bad, and I have complained about that, is you learn it on Tuesday morning and play it on Tuesday afternoon.
Good for your reading.
So for whatever reason, the timetabling for the degree program is a little bit more not so structured as I'd like it to be. Okay. But the diploma, as far as I'm aware, still works out that way. Okay. But how do you? But yeah, that worked really nicely for me when I was there, because you had a week to learn the song. You could spend time on it. You could practice with different, because I was a bass player, so I had about 4 or 5 bands. That I was playing with of musicians that you then play with on the Friday. So maybe you'd work out your own arrangement, and each band would have their own arrangement of the song. Okay. Rather than just play exactly as the original. So.
Okay. So because when we did it, there was no getting together in bands unless you did it yourself. It was
exactly.
it was almost like you'd dep on a gig every week for 30 weeks.
Yeah.
You turn up,
that's
you
it. So
don't know who you're
sometimes-
playing with, and so long you just hope that everybody's learned it. Some people had nailed it, some people turned up they hadn't learned it, and you'd have to car crash your way through the song.
Yeah.
But all of them I thought were really good experiences.
Yeah, it was a great learning experience.
And when I heard that, I think I had one of my students went there, he said, no, for LPW, Live Performance Workshop, we're all grouped in bands. I was like, but then you don't get the shit, has the drummer learnt it? Which is which emulates a gig, a depth gig or a function gig kind of scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it depends on degree. Again, it depends. Degrees are, it's like the people are older, they have lives outside, so sometimes we don't get everyone turn up each week. Ideally we would, but sometimes we don't. So sometimes you end up having to kind of cobble a band together from the people who've turned up. So there might be one guitarist that week, and then that guitarist then has to play with every group of musicians that come up.
Okay.
So it still works in that way. So if you've got the full bands turn up and they play, then it's great. But a lot of the time, the way we still try and get it is we'll try and all take it in turns to just play the song in all the different combinations of students and get through it. So yeah, probably at some points they'll end up in a band only, but I'd prefer it if everyone had, different things. For assessments, normally you end up having a band because then you can actually practice the material and do your own arrangement and make sure it's all practiced. I still like the idea of the car crash experience.
Yeah,
you learn, and this is the thing. It's like
that's
every
where
drummer
you learn.
ends songs. Yeah, every drummer learns things in a different way, and that's what I quite like. Even about the when I was doing the function gig with you after I don't know how the drummer's going to end the song.
Yeah,
I don't know how the band's going to end the song, but that's what keeps it exciting. That's why I like it.
Yeah.
I like depping out gigs and just turning up and going, right, I think I know how the song's going to go, but that's not necessarily the way the song is going to go. And you have to keep your ears open because the guitarist has extended the solo. So you can't just think, right, the solo is 16 bars and then the chorus is 16 bars and then I'm going to finish. Because maybe that band plays the chorus 3 times at the end and you just have to keep going with it. And they keep going and you're like, oh, hang on. Okay, so we're doing another one.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to essentially make microsecond adjustments. But that's the learning on the gig situation. You can only get that from learning on the gig. You can't practice that at home.
No.
And that's why going out and just playing gigs really is one of the best ways of getting better at doing gigs.
Yeah.
Really.
Absolutely. And how do you feel music education, particularly at the ACM, is compared to what it used to be? Because I was there early 2000s. How do you think it compares?
Well, I was probably there, like not far off you.
Yeah.
So it would be.
Well, I left 2000. I think I left 2002 or 2003.
Was Guthrie there when you were there?
Yeah.
Oh man, he left the year before I went. I think.
I had him for blues and technical development for term 1.
It's just outrageous.
I had to do both of my assessments in front of him for blues and.
Oh jeez, there's your pressure.
But
That's pressure.
I was actually just thinking I'd forgotten about this. Like it was one of my technical exercises that he asked. I sat down, you're quite nervous, but I was confident. I'd put a lot of work into it. And he said something like, play position 4 of C minor pentatonic. And I looked at the neck and I was like, yeah, got it. Put the click on. I played it up and down. I looked up at him and he went C minor. And I looked back and went, fuck. All right. Yeah. I did it in C sharp, but thankfully he didn't mark me down, but it's good. He's just one of those fucking staggering players that exists in the top 0.01% of musicians.
It's outrageous. But I don't think it's like the thing is it's the format changes. So there is one thing I'll mention particularly about it. So
I don't want to get you in trouble.
No, yeah. So for me, like a C is still a C. And when this is where we'll kind of harken back to the old days, I guess, is I've still got them on the shelf there. I've got my old ACM books.
I've still got mine, yeah.
That's it. So I've got my books. Sometimes I still open them because sometimes there's actually something in there that I need. Maybe there's a song I've got to learn for a covers gig. And I know actually that was the song I learned at ACM. I'm just going to go and get the chart out. So because it'll save me, 10 minutes writing out myself or whatever. So the the thing that I don't like about the way music education is working at the moment is the fact that everything has to be insisted on going digital. Right. Now, I know that's not actually an ACM choice. I think, as far as I'm aware, that's the higher body that Middlesex University has kind of come down and said, we want you to do this. So as far as I'm aware, it's not actually their decision to do this. But everything's moved online. And I don't think that's good for music education.
Have you? So you don't go into you don't go in and teach in a classroom?
No. So I mean the material is online.
Right.
So what I mean is I've got that book there. That's going to still be there in 20 years' time, 30 years' time. I'm still going to have that book. I'll take it around with me for the rest of my life. I'll have that book with me. And in that book, I had to take a pen in with me. And I've got notes in the corners. I've got scribbles. I've got circles around things. However, the way that the current system works is that it's all online. So the students basically have to log in. And this is the even terrible thing, like the app doesn't even work on their phones. So you have to log in from a browser. And half the students don't even look at the content on a computer screen, reasonable size. They're all looking at it on their phones. So can you imagine trying to read a chart from a phone?
Mate, I've done it before.
But it's like, I wouldn't want to learn it. Like in an emergency, I can like try to read something like this, but I can't. It's just, and the thing is that there's, if I was imagining I was trying to learn, just like if I was a student, if I'm trying to learn something from my phone, right? Suddenly you get a notification, right? You read on the phone, then bing! Oh, someone sent me a message. Oh, I better read that. I was like, oh, they've sent me a link. What's that?
And then you're gone. An hour disappears.
That's it. But if I've got my book there, I just open the book. Phone's like over there somewhere. You know, especially if I've got it on silent. I've got my book. I can spend time with it, and that's my favourite thing. That's why I've got a whole heap of books there. I hate PDFs. I print them out. If I download a PDF, I'll print it out. I do that with what's the website? There's a website there's Scribd. They did a free month or something during the pandemic. Scribd did a free month or something crazy. Jesus, I downloaded so much stuff.
Download all.
I printed it out. All the stuff I wanted, I printed it. Because then I've got it. I've just got it like in a ring binder, or I like tape it together or staple it or whatever, and I've got it there. So if I want to learn from it, I can put it on my music stand, and it's just there, and I can just not have any distractions, and I've got the music there, and it's big, and I can read it. Whereas that's my main problem with the situation now, is that they don't have the ability to even write in the margins, because you can't write in the margins because you're looking at a web page. It's nice because you can watch videos, you can click on it. You can watch videos of people playing. Whereas in the old days, you'd say, go and type in something into the internet and try and find it. And that was what was written in the book. You know, they wouldn't be audio examples. I think they did. They gave us MP3s of the song, so I remember that at least. So they'd give us MP3 examples.
I didn't even have that.
No,
we just got a pad. It's like, just there you go learn the song. And I think I'd either have to go and buy the album or buy the song, because I didn't. 2001, 2002, no one was really downloading anything legally.
Still MP3, beginnings of MP3s, wasn't it? So this was still just like 2007. We had MP3s, but so it was more common to use those. But that was it really. So I prefer that, and I feel like the students don't get a good enough experience because of that. But it's not necessarily the problem of the college. That's kind of the way that the educational bodies are saying that stuff has to be learned online for whatever reason. They're trying to be current and keep with the times, and you know, the way the world is going, we have to do this. But some things don't need to change. And this is my main problem with the content, the online content, is like every year you'd have to rewrite it. They've now changed that, so now we're writing it once and then it kind of is staying online. But every year you'd have to rewrite it. So every year I'm having to write C major out again. And I was complaining to some of the guys. I was like, why do we have this? Because C major is the same scale, and every time someone new has to teach the course or whatever, we're having to write out the C major scale again. We should just have a book that can last for 5 to 10 years, because that that content does not change.
Yeah.
C major is the same. You don't have to write it out again. That there are some things that do not change. One of the reasons, partly, I think, is because it's a. Sorry, I'm just.
No, go for it. Go for it.
One of the things that it really makes sense with is there's, for example, a music business module or something, because then that does need to be updated every year, because every year there's new things coming on, the algorithms work differently, or the music industry is in a different place. So every year you have to update the content. C major scale, it's been the same thing for since the beginning of the universe. Yeah. You don't need to change that.
Yeah.
So once it's written out, you can write it out. And that's, I think, the problem with not having it as, or with making it online and not there,
physical
because I just don't think music works that way.
Yeah.
I think you need to have a piece of paper in front of you and be reading from the paper. I don't think it works particularly well if you've got to open your phone or open an app and then you have to scroll through things. And the other main problem with that is you can't even fit, unless you've got a tablet. Even if I have my laptop sideways, I can't see a full A4 page to read through. On a laptop screen or on a screen, I can't see a full A4 page. If I have to shrink it out so you see 100% of the page, it's
unreadable.
It's unreadable. It's too small. So I need to have an A4 page of music to read it from. I know on gigs, lots of people are now using tablets to actually read the music. I know that's a thing. But it's still an A4 size tablet, so you can still read the stuff. But the students aren't using A4 tablets. They're using a laptop, so the screen's sideways, or they're using their phone, and you just can't read a full A4 page. And I think that's
well, the smart ones will print it out and bring it out on a piece of paper.
Yeah, but they don't. So we do that. I'll upload like a PDF and say, look, print this out, put it on your desk, and that's your practice material. But it's like I don't know that many of them that are actually doing them. Some of them are doing lots of practice, but some of them they're just not.
Yeah. Do you think I was gonna say, do you think that you're releasing well-rounded musicians into the music industry after they qualify and get their degrees or their diplomas?
I think it depends on who it is.
Always depends on who it is. Do you think the material, if they work through all of the material as they're supposed to and as directed, you're releasing well-rounded musicians?
I can only really speak on behalf of the bass department.
That's fine.
There's some really good bass players. If they practice, and we know the ones who practice as well, because they turn up every week and they practiced it, and you can see that. And there's other people that you go, oh God, I wish they just practice a bit. They'll probably still get their degree at the end of the day, because the thing with the degree is it's a lot of coursework, it's a lot of paperwork, and if you can write well, you can get a degree, and that's kind of the way it works, which is a bit of a shame, but it is the way it works. So you can play okay, and then you can get a degree because you've written good essays. But it doesn't mean it's going to be a good degree. And this is the thing, is that when I say you get a degree, there's different grades. Obviously, there's a first, and then there's like a third. A lot of them will get a third, but they'll still get the degree at the end of the day. But then the people who get a first are the people who can play really well and write. The people who get a 2-1 might be the people who can play really well but not write particularly well. So just because you've got a really great degree qualification doesn't necessarily mean you're the best player on the course. It'd be quite unlikely for someone to be the best player on the course and be very bad at writing essays and come out with a third. That would be quite unlikely. But that's kind of your mid-range is where you're getting maybe the best players sometimes, because maybe they're too busy practicing to write essays.
No, I came here to learn music.
So while it would be great if everyone that's the best player is also the person writing the best essays, it's not necessarily true. I know with someone like Guthrie, obviously he was going to study English at Oxford, so he'd probably get the best grades on everything. But you know what I mean? It's like, it's not necessarily just because you're a good player doesn't necessarily mean you're very academic, and that you can look at anyone in the music industry to see any of the most famous musicians. You could probably work out whether they're a particularly academic person, and they're probably not. And that's the thing. That's what a music degree is. It's not just I go and I play guitar all day, and we get quite a lot of people who get very confused by that. They come in to do the degree, and they're being asked to write 3,000 word essays, and they're saying, "What is this? I just wanted to play my guitar all day," and we're like, "This is a degree.
Do the diploma.
It's not what you think it is.
Or do the higher diploma."
So I'm actually thinking of. I actually suggested this a few weeks ago to someone, one of the higher up managers. I was saying that actually, I think we need to be trying to push some of these people just to do diploma and higher diploma.
Yeah.
But then you've got the parents, and the parents want them to have a degree, and that's the fight you've got. There's people who are, but they might drop out the degree because it's got too much paperwork, and this is the thing. So it's like, so. Yeah, it's a constant fight, basically. But my main problem really with it is just, and I'm quite happy to say this outwardly, is I hate the online stuff. It's great. You can click on things. You've got audio examples. That's lovely. But I just want the books for the kids. I just want the students to have a book that they can open up and read through, and it's there. Because just scrolling on a screen, I don't learn from a screen. No. I can't think of anything I've really learned from a screen. It just doesn't, for me, it just doesn't work. It's just for me. That's why I've got those books there. I can just walk over and I can open the book. If I'm reading a PDF, I've tried it before. I'm trying to read the PDF. I have to rename the PDF every time I close it. It's like, what page is it? 34. Okay, so blah, 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 piston, harmony, blah, 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 page 34. And then I have to reopen it on page 34 the next day, and then I scroll through, and then my eye gets tired because I'm staring at some lights a couple of inches from my face. I'd like just like a book.
Just give us a book.
Turn the page, put a bookmark in it.
Well, I've got mine here. I've got my real book out here, and there's
great.
A bunch of books behind it as well. And I've got the big thick Berkeley "Learn How to Read Guitar Because You Suck" book, which I'm working through, which is great. Yeah, but over the last couple of months, I've just been really hitting reading quite hard, and it's
the best thing.
I tell you what, I feel like another avenue of music has just opened up.
That's it.
And
that's it, isn't it?
I think the start of this year, everything was feeling a bit stale and stagnant. I was like, I'm doing the same shit all over the time. I do enjoy teaching. I love playing, but nothing new was kind of coming along and really exciting me. And I just picked up the real book. I'll just start reading. And it's like this whole fucking new world. It's amazing. It's
beautiful, isn't it? That's it. That's what I'm so excited by my bookcase. Yeah, because I know I've got literally 10 lifetimes worth of music there. There's no way I'll play through all of that in my lifetime. But that it's just wow, the possibilities that are on that bookshelf. It's just outrageous. You know, there's things I'll never be able to play. Like, what's this? Look. There's my trombone, but I had a lesson with Jeff Bullen, and that was his homework, is buy this book. Yeah, I've got it in PDF. Why would I have that in PDF? But yeah, so there's this is the classical exercises that I'm doing. So it's this kind of thing, right? But then if you look at the bottom of the page, it's like outrageous. But again, it's written for trombone. So, and this is actually only written in one key.
Okay.
This is the next page. This is all just written in one key.
Okay.
Reading exercises. So I've written at the top of the page in pencil, play through the cycle. I don't know if it's mirrored or not. So it's a play through the cycle. So all those exercises, I take that first exercise and I play that through all 12 keys, all the way across the neck, and my brain will be hurting. And I'll be so happy, because I'll have learned so much material just from those 8 bars. Yeah. And I'll be so much of a better player because of playing those 8 bars. And that's what all of my practice is just kind of taking crazy exercises like, this is written for trombone. Can I even play it on bass? Who knows? I don't know until I try it. I don't know until I try it, and then, and this is the interesting thing, this is when I end up with my own identifiable sound. Because for me, having an identifiable sound is the culmination of you solving problems the way you solve them.
Wow, that's lovely.
And I think that if you find some musical problems and you give it to 5 different people, they'll probably all solve them in slightly different ways. And because of that, each person will have their own sound of playing that problem. And for me, that's why I transcribe stuff that's not bass, because then I end up with a sound that's not a traditional bass sound, which is fine. I love the sound of bass when other people play it, but I like just to I want to try and do it my way.
Yeah.
And this is going to be another really pretentious thing as well, is I want people to try and be their own favourite musician.
I remember asking somebody something similar. It's like, how many guitar players would you have to list? Like, who's your favourite guitar player? How many of your favourite guitar players would you have to list until you said your own name?
Like, oh, wow, that's a great question.
Hundreds. I'd list hundreds of players before me. And that's a real problem.
Yeah.
Why don't I like my own playing?
Yeah. So this is going to sound awful. It's going to sound so terrible. Please don't take it the wrong way. Everybody.
I won't.
I'm my favourite bass player.
Yeah.
Because I do everything that I want to hear a bass player do.
Yeah.
So what do I want to hear a bass player play? I better play that. Because then I know maybe someone else, that's also their favourite thing that they're looking for in a bass player. So I've always kind of charted that route. And that's why I've made this niche for myself where people don't call me because they think I can only do that one thing. But because I'm trying to do this particular thing, I have a very specific concept of what I want fretless bass to sound like, which is a mix of different players, but it's the way I combine them in my head that I want it to sound like that. And I solo in a particular way that I like a combination of a certain specific group of things. That's the way I like to hear it. Yeah. And then that's obviously my favorite combinations. And that's why I'm my favorite player. It doesn't mean I'm the best player.
Yeah.
Favorite is not the same as best. I'm not the best bass player in the world.
You've got to be up there,
my favorite bass player. I'm all right. Yeah. But I am my favorite bass player because I am the culmination of all the things I like. It's like, if I could combine all my favorite players into one player, who would that be? It'd be me. Yeah. So that's why I'm my favorite. But it's, again, that sounds really terrible. And I don't listen to myself all the time. Yeah. It just doesn't mean I listen to myself. It just means that I'm a combination of all my favorites. And that's what I think people should try to do.
I absolutely agree. Yeah. Right. And I think that's...
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's not pretentious. It's kind of,
I know. I think it's actually, it's quite wise because you said it. You said you're the culmination of all your favourite bits of this player, this player, and this player. I bring them all together. Like, I really love the sound of the outside scales that Marty Friedman uses, those exotic kind of sound. But technically, I'm nowhere near it. So if I take that aspect, which I really love, put that into my playing, but I really love, Dave Gilmour's vibrato. Well, let's put those two together.
Man, that's like already my favorite guitarist. Yeah, right. It's like Dave Gilmour and Marty Friedman. Yeah, I'd listen to that all day.
Intersected somewhere at some point, and I think it's cool. I 100% need to do more work on that aspect of my playing. Why don't I like my own playing? Yeah, I think
I go through phases as well.
Yeah. I think guitar players, I don't know if it's the same with bass players, but I think guitar players get fixated on scales. Like, if only the scale will fix my playing. And it's like, well...
I was reading a really interesting comment. There's this guitarist I said I recorded with recently, Tom Geldschlager. He plays fretless guitar, actually.
Right.
But he made a post, I think it was him that wrote the post. He was saying one of the biggest things that's held back guitarists for the last 20 years or whatever is this idea that a metronome tempo and playing a scale is the guide of whether you're good or not.
Yeah.
So just right, metronome. Okay, now I'm good.
Yeah.
Because I play so many metal gigs, and those players can really play. Yeah. Obviously, everyone can really play, but it gets to solos, and there's so often you can hear what they haven't practiced, and that's because they think it's too easy, and that is vibrato and bends.
Yeah.
So many times I'm watching a guitar solo, and it's like, oh, dude, if you just spent some time
10 minutes
on learning some solos,
yeah.
And I've had the same thing as well, is I've watched some bands play. There's one guitarist who's fantastic from Beyond Creation, the lead player. He's amazing. When I toured with them, and after the first show, I just went over to him and I just said, Marty Friedman. It was like, dude, I fucking love Marty Friedman. He's my favorite guitarist. And I was like, yes, I know.
I can hear it.
See, because you've spent so much time on your vibrato and your bends that it makes the solos so much more just better, right? It's just, it's that thing that so many metal guitarists get fixated on exactly that. And I'm practicing my scale and I can play my sweep picking really quick. Therefore, I'm a good guitarist. But no, actually, the thing I'd rather hear someone that can play nice bends and nice vibrato over someone who can shred. If you can do both, that's the magic ingredient.
Yeah, I've always said that,
do both,
that's
great. That's why Guthrie's the best.
But bad vibrato and out of tune bends is the best way to spoil any piece of music, really, particularly on guitar. But it's like having a it's like having a really beautifully well-made cake and then icing it in dog shit.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Technically, it might be great, but does it?
No one's going to eat it. No one's eating that.
No one's going to eat it. No, exactly. Yeah, that's it. And I've spent a lot of time on my vibrato, which is not a very bass player thing, but that's because I've been transcribing Alan Holdsworth and saxophone solos and things. So I'm transcribing because, and this is the other thing that when I do a transcription, I'm interested in the notes.
Yeah.
But I'm not as interested in the notes as I'm interested in the way the notes are played. So for me, that's what's given me a lot of my phrasing ideas, is not necessarily the note pitches. I'm not necessarily taking a lick directly. I mean, sometimes I have taken a lick directly and then played it in one of my own solos. What I'm looking for is the way that they play the vibrato at the end of a phrase. How are they ending that? Do they end it with a little bend at the end of the phrase? So I'm listening for those micro things, and I see that with a lot of bass transcriptions online, because people do the same thing, you know, bass players playing along with a saxophone solo, and a lot of the time they're just playing the notes, just playing the notes. So the notes are there and they'll play the notes, but then the vibrato that play at the end of the phrase, they don't play that, or there's a little bend and they don't play the bend, or they don't, or the original player goes into a note and they just go and play the note, and they're not looking at the micro stuff. So I'm kind of looking at transcriptions on a much deeper level, because I'm not trying to just play the notes. The notes are important, but not as important as the way the person was playing it. And that's what's given me my vibrato, really, is that sense of like, how slow is it in this style? How fast is it?
Yeah.
I did a Benny Goodman clarinet solo transcription a couple of years ago, and he used a really wide vibrato, and it's quite like, and that was a totally different. I hadn't recorded with that kind of style of vibrato before, but then actually I did a tour with Steve Vai last year, and I've just dropped that.
Drop that in there.
But yeah, so I was touring. It was a trio, and I got loads of solos, which is not intimidating at all when you've got Steve Vai the other side of the wall. But I found there were a few times where I was bringing out that wide vibrato because it happened to work, and I'd never used it before. But then because of that transcription, there was a few moments that I was like, oh, actually, and that was then my favorite part of the solo when I listened back, because I'd recorded some of them. I listened back and was like, oh, actually, that vibrato was really effective there. It was really kind of really nice element that was not a common thing, but I've taken it from a clarinet solo.
Yeah.
It's
funny how music just it kind of just not necessarily regurgitates into itself, but it just gets passed around and everybody does their own thing with it. And
it's wonderful, because there's so many, like, this is even like stories of I'll get this book, Charlie Parker.
Okay, yeah,
this is an old, I've had this for a long time.
It's heavy.
But I've had this, but the Charlie Parker, he'd be doing live solos, and he'd be quoting classical things in there if it matched the chord changes, because he was practicing along with classical stuff. All those bebop guys were so heavy into their contemporary classical music. They were like massively into Stravinsky. And you know, so he might be doing or whatever, but you see, you giggled that, and that's the kind of thing that people in the audience would be like, ah!
"Oh my god, he's just done!"
Because it's just a cool thing to do, right? You know, so that's the thing, is that he's a massive fan of classical music, and that's obviously come out in his playing. There was actually a book. There was someone mentioned it online. I got it from Scribd as well. There was his actual book of things that he practiced from. It's a classical etudes book. It's just him. It's just scales up and down, but with lots of chromatic elements in between the scales, filling in the gaps. And he's obviously just used that to get his technique up, to play the scales with all the chromatics in between. And that's kind of what his whole playing style has come from, some of these classical etudes that have then been applied to playing very, very fast bebop stuff at 300 BPM or whatever.
Everything is music, man. Everything is music.
Yeah.
Listen, Aaron, we have to call it a day there. I've got to go and
no problem, man.
Run and pick
I've enjoyed
children
this.
up. It's been, mate,
I could just talk for hours.
I could just do it again.
That's what I like about music.
Yeah.
You know?
We should do it again then.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, cool. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know how busy you are, and I really do appreciate it. So,
yeah, it's been a great hang. I've really enjoyed it, Tim. It's nice to see you again. And I hope everything's good.
Yes. So we'll call it a day there. So thank you very much.
Yeah, awesome. And thanks, man.